This is analysis of Miss Scolio's butterfly. So the first thing we want to see is we want to make sure that she doesn't bring those arms out and around to the side. We want to see her swing those arms up this way with her head and her hips so that she can use the torque that's created from this motion here so to gain more power and change her trajectory from this direction straight down to further out and then down. She'll gain more momentum and more power off the blocks in this way. She has nice clean entry, excellent dolphin kicks. And then we can see she comes up and breathes on the first stroke. We always want to try, no matter what the stroke, except for backstroke and breaststroke, to avoid breathing on the first stroke because it forces us to lose the momentum and the speed that we're carrying off the wall. So the way we can tell that this is happening is that we can see that her body position starts to get very vertical, especially as she takes that breath on the first stroke. And this causes her to expose herself to a lot of negative resistance to her forward momentum. She does an excellent job of pressing the T. As we can see, the T is a naturally occurring intersection of lines that form the shoulders and the spine. So every time she takes a stroke, she does an excellent job of pressing that T down before her hands enter the water so that the momentum of her upper body carries her hands through the catch and into the early part of the stroke. Also, this forces our hips back up and higher in the water, which allows us to stay on the surface of the water and swim more efficiently. One thing that we want to be careful of is making sure that we don't have so much knee bend when we take a kick. We can see that her knees really start to bend, especially on strokes that she takes takes a breath. So right before she takes a breath every time, we see that her knees really exaggerate their bend. Making sure that she doesn't bend her knees is going to allow her to swim with more power by generating that power from the hips instead of from her knees. This is an excellent turn. We see her come in, hit the wall, keeps her eyes on that hand, comes straight back, right over and into the turn. Excellent turn. Again, we want to avoid breathing on the first stroke, as it really eliminates some of the momentum that we carry off the wall. We can see on strokes that she doesn't take a breath, that her hips stay high in the water, she doesn't bend her knees, and she skims the surface of the water. But when she comes up for that breath, we see that her knees bend, and we lose a lot of that efficiency, and we expose ourselves to a lot of negative resistance to our butterfly. So staying high on top of the water and using our hips and our T to power ourselves forward is going to allow us to swim with considerably more efficiency. Making the slight improvements at the beginning of the race is going to really allow her to finish with more power. We also want to make sure that no matter what, we don't breathe the last few strokes into the wall. The oxygen that we take in on those last few strokes won't be used by our body for another 20 seconds. So once we get into the end of that race, we need to just put our head down and finish strong. This is underwater analysis of Angelina's butterfly. One thing that we want to make sure that we do is we don't want to pull this head up out of our streamline. We can see that Angelina gets slightly deep on the start, but that she starts to really pike up quickly. But she needs to continue to kick her way up to the surface. We don't want to see her break her head out of her streamline right here. That's going to force our body position up too fast, and as we can see, it really starts to force ourselves into a vertical position for that breakout, which provides a lot of negative resistance and doesn't allow us to continue to take our momentum forward. It forces us to try to take our momentum out of the water, which in turn is going to force our body position lower in the water after we pop out. So we want to make sure we stay high in the water. We see that Angelina does an excellent job of pressing the T here. So as she comes through, she leads with that head, which forces her arms through the early part of the catch, and it also forces her hips up. So as that head and T come down, her hips come up. We see that she seesaws very efficiently, not presenting a large vertical face with which to resist our forward momentum. This is very good butterfly early in the race. So we want to make sure that she continues this efficiency throughout the whole 50. We can see that when she takes a breath that her knees bend a little bit. We want to make sure we eliminate this knee bend and try to keep our legs straighter. The straighter we keep our legs, the less resistance that we present to our forward momentum. And it also, keeping our legs straight forces us to kick with our hips, which in turn allows us to generate more power moving forward. Coming into this turn, we see her drop her head. This is a textbook turn again. Excellent turn. Make sure we tighten up that streamline slightly. We use the correct number of kicks off the wall. We never want to breathe on that first stroke off the wall. That's going to really slow us down. See the vertical face that we present? We want to make sure that we do our best to eliminate this resistance on our most powerful stroke of the 25. She recovers almost immediately, however, and really gets into a rhythm. It's because she has natural butterfly skills. She does a great job of pressing that T, which allows her to keep her hips up higher in the water. As she tires a little bit, we see that she gets a little bit more vertical, especially when she takes a breath. But she does such a good job of maintaining her efficiency early in the race that she's able to use her strength to really finish the race strongly.